Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellowed up to the bar. It is Wednesday. It's May 13th. I always forget what day of the week it is. Wednesday, May 13th. Short week for the shows this month, folks. Normally, I know you're used to one every week, but no show next week and no show the week after that. You're gonna have to suffer without me. I'm gonna be in Cabo, or not Cabo, but Barbados, some Ados place is where I'm going to be. So we're going to head out there, but we'll be back here in June ready to rock and roll and make everything happen. And, you know, I figured what better way than to have someone that covers everybody else, cover the last week of this month, a guy who does roofing, but he's more than that. He's taken himself from literally, not figuratively, literally being homeless, not knowing where he's going to go each day, to now running as he says it, he is a 9-figure roofer. So coming from one of my old haunts, one of my old stomping grounds down in and listen, folks, this will all make sense to you. You can tell if somebody's really from PA based on two things. They never call it Pennsylvania, and they never call it give me a Yingling. They call it give me a lager. So coming all the way from the Poconos down that way, joining us, if I can find my applause, it is Mr. Bob. I'm going to jack your whole last name up because I'm so good at that. I just want you to know that. I'm the worst at last names. We didn't discuss this before. I normally make people tell me their last name about 10 times for pronunciation. So get ready. You ready? So it's Mr. Bob. Is it Schober? I'm going to say Schober. Can you hear me, Bob? Did I lose you?
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear nothing? Oh, crap. What's going on?
Technical difficulties. If you can hear me,
I can hear you fine, Bob. I can hear you great. Let's take a look here. See, this is what live is all about, folks. Let's see if it's on my end real quick. Let's change. Nope, that's not it. Let's see if it's on my end.
I didn't change anything.
How about
I
now?
can hear you fine when we were just talking.
Can you hear me now? How about now? Anything better? Bob, can you hear me? Bob, can you hear me? Let's see. I can hear.
I think I should sign out and sign back in. I'm not.
Yeah, I can hear you. Give it a shot, Bob. This is what live's all about, folks. Let's see how this works. So for those of you that are just joining us over on YouTube, I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and get the house cleaning done while Bob's coming back. First things first, as always, over my shoulders, the big board for Sticker in a Cause. You got something you believe in, something you're supporting,
Gotcha.
something for people to know about. Reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, or TikTok. All of it's the Above the Bar Podcast. Our website is theabovethebarpodcast.com. And our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. You missed me butcher your last name, Bob.
It's Schober.
See, and I said Schruber. I told you I was going to butcher.
It's close enough.
I butcher all last names. At least your first name being Bob is so much easier.
You can't mess that one up.
I don't mess that one up. So that's how you can get a hold of us, folks. So if you got something you're supporting, something you want other people to know about, reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We'll throw your sticker up here on the big board so everybody can see about it, and we'll talk about your little free advertisement. Also, we got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here, and that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, Clifton Park. Did I miss anybody? And East Greenbush. North America's largest custom window treatment company. They're handling everything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapery, tint. Everything is custom made, fit for your windows. This isn't big box store, pull it off the shelf. Some guy hits it with a chop saw and you go, gosh, I hope this fits right. This is literally measured to your window, installed to your home just for you. It's not going to fit anywhere else right. It's not going to look anywhere else right. And folks are doing it in your home. And for this month, They're doing 20% off of all product, and anything you motorize, it's another 5%. And as always, folks, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're giving you an additional 5% off of that order. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Del Mar, and Clifton Park, North America's largest custom window treatment company. All right, Bob, all that stuff is done. It's out of the way. How are things?
Things are amazing. Couldn't be better. I'm in Pennsylvania. This is the state I grew up in, so it's good to be back.
Bob isn't like he showed it. He doesn't have, I don't want him to show it now because I ain't trying to blow nobody's spot up, but he's in like the coolest, largest basement I've ever seen for a man cave. That's not even like a man cave. That's like a man cavern.
It's
like
beyond a man cave.
Yeah, that's not like man cave. You expect like a room. I've got my high school jersey up on the wall or something silly like that. Like that place is it's cavernous almost. Like
it is.
You've got soundproofing panels in the ceiling.
Here.
And that's incredible, brother. That's
kind of sick.
Yeah, that's wild. That's absolutely wild. And look, folks, as we're going through this, Bob and I are going to talk about, the understanding of going from nothing to something. How do you make this happen? So if you've got a story, you've got a question, maybe you're going through a situation yourself right now, make sure you're dropping those things into the chat so we can talk to you about it. Also, folks, as we're going through it, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow. It may sound cliche, but truly, truly does matter in how things start. So let's start at the top of it, brother. Like you were legit homeless. Like we're not talking like, I didn't have anywhere to sleep tonight. Like you were homeless.
I mean, I had a van. So let's be clear. Okay, I was homeless on wheels.
Was it down by the river? That's what I need to know.
No, it was, a lot of the time was spent in Santa Cruz, California. Down by the beach, and I was kind of bottoming it out and grandiose at the same time. I have this like old school Italian mother, right? My grandparents are from Italy. My mom was, I'm 53 years old. She still thinks I'm 15, right? So,
are you the oldest grandchild?
No, I'm the baby.
Okay, fair enough. It's got to be one extreme or the other for it to work.
Yep. And so she, even back then, and this was like the mid 90s, like 94, 95. I was like 23 years old, and she had an 800 number for me because she always wanted to know that I was okay and where I was at, right? And I'm living in a Volkswagen. I was on emergency food stamps in Santa Cruz, California. You didn't have to have a home. So I had to draw a map to where you slept. And, I would be like, yeah, everything's great. I'm living by the beach. Couldn't be happier. I'm in California, so I had this way of making my life seem way better than it actually was. I was coming apart at the seams. So I lived like that for probably close to a year.
Damn. That's a long time like that.
That is a long time.
I mean, no, but let me ask this question though. So the other, I think there's a positive in anything. Like it's once you're at the bottom, it's easy to see the top. But
sure.
But the other side to it is the resiliency. Like what are some of the things that for you now as an entrepreneur that you realize through that you're like, hey, I've taken this skill from here and moved it to here?
That's an interesting question. I feel like, I'm celebrating 29 years sober at the end of the month, right? Nice. May 31st, 29 years sober. And I'm bellied up to the bar as we speak, and I'm free from the obsession to drink. So that's a beautiful thing. When you're living like that and when you really don't know where your meal's coming from or you have a hustle inside you, right? Like you got to work it's a lot of work to stay high and to stay drunk and to stay homeless and to keep gas in the vehicle. And I was in Santa Cruz at the beach. They have all the outside showers where you shower off where you're, when you get out of the ocean, right? So that was the shower. And then I had the van. I had a 1974 Volkswagen bus that I lived in. And there was a bunch of other people, and it was our own little community by the beach. We parked at a place called Greyhound Rock, just north of Santa Cruz. And it's kind of the same fire and the same hustle, I think, as an entrepreneur, believe it or not, right? Like I have in the state of Arizona, our company has over 200 sales guys. I would say 60% of those people are in recovery. And I would say that probably 100 of those people have done some amount of time in either jail or prison and now are sober and their lives are together, right? And I think when, and it's really an incredible roofing and the trades in general, in my opinion, if anybody, needs to make a change or wants to make a change or wants to make more money, I believe there's just a ton of money in the trades.
100%.
Um, our best guy last year, our best guy who's, not an owner, he's part of the team and a major part, brought in over $1 million in his own pocket. And I had 6 sales guys that made over 600 grand last year.
Wow.
So, and if you added up the prison time of all of them, it was a lot, right? But they're sober, they're leading great lives. We're kind of selective on like, what the charges were. I like drug addicts and alcoholics that are in recovery that got their life together.
Man, my favorite guys are all drug addicts and alcoholics.
Yeah.
You could have it like, listen, that's for a guy who understands and sees past it. That'd be an amazing t-shirt. Like my favorite guys are drug addicts and alcoholics.
Yeah.
But that in and of itself, to be able to see that beyond that, brother, that I give you all the kudos in the world, because a lot of people can't see beyond that. That somebody, and this might be an odd way that I look at that, because I will tell you, one of my best sales guys is exactly the same person who's 8 years sober. And you see it, if you're smart, you see it and you go, well, anybody that can dedicate that much effort and pull that thing out of their life, they now have an opening, and they figured that, like, you're that opening, this is that opening. If they put that much effort into that thing, imagine what they can put into you.
Yeah. We have a pretty amazing culture, right? When you have like that many people doing the right thing and doing like really some amazing things, it's kind of crazy. Like, and even now, I mean, kind of getting sidetracked here, but a couple years ago, I had a guy come over from another company. He's become a very good friend of mine. I love working with the guy. He's definitely one of the rock stars in the company. And he knew of this guy named John Jackson that he followed on Instagram, that he was like, I really want to meet this guy someday. And the private equity, we sold the bulk of our company to private equity in 2022. That was kind of a big exit for me. And the private equity company has been good to work with, right? It has, I hear a lot of horror stories, but for us, it's been a good experience. And we had the ability to, we talked to private equity and we're like, hey, we have the opportunity here. In the prisons, everybody has tablets, right? And so we had the opportunity to build an app on the tablets in the prisons. And it cost us like 100 grand, and the private equity cut the check, and we got the curriculum made, and now we're on the tablets in literally like hundreds of prisons. And we are like a couple months ago, and we're doing this now, it's kind of regularly, where there's actually like Zoom calls in the prison with like 30 dudes who have went through the course and we're practicing the sales pitch, right? Like, it's kind of next level stuff. And so we just launched a program last summer. And so far we've had 12 people that have come out that are being very successful at the company. So it's
what is the app? Like I don't,
it's called, so on these tablets in prison, the app is called From the Yard to 100K. And we got about a dozen of our dudes who have done a lot of time that are absolutely kicking ass in life, right? They're buying big houses, dream cars. Like, they've been selling roofs for a few years, out of prisons for a few years, and they're really paying it forward. It's kind of like a movement, right? Like, we have guys that buy vehicles for guys when they get out of prison because somebody bought a vehicle for them. And when those guys get going, they start making, a couple grand a week, few grand a week, then they're doing that for the next guy. So it's kind of like just this paid forward down that, it's got a ton of momentum. And I don't talk a lot about that always, but that's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
No, you need to talk a lot about that. Listen, don't be humble about something like that, because myself personally, I'll tell you, one of our first guests that we ever had, wasn't first, but he was within, I bet you it was within the first several months that he was on here, and he's got his own documentary on Netflix, spent 16 years in jail. Like, one of the real, like, didn't commit the crime and was in jail for 16 years for a rape and murder he did not commit.
Holy shit.
And, he'll tell you, almost died several times. I'm trying to find the correct name for the documentary, but 5 times he almost died in prison because the guards, the COs, told the people that were there that, oh, he committed this crime, and he never did. So people thought, well, you're a murderer, you're a child murderer. So when I hear stories like this, so I'm very, like,
one of these guys who like, I never understood the prison system myself because they don't understand. We tell her, if you got kids,
Yeah, I got 4.
so you're almost to me. I got 8. We're almost there. We'll get.
I'm done. I'm 53, dude. No more kids for me.
I was 40 when I had my last one. But one of the things they always tell us with your kids, after you discipline them, let it go.
Right.
Don't. But yet for the prison guys in the prison system, they commit a crime, they get out, and we hold it over their head for their entire rest of their lives and can't figure out why they can't get beyond it.
Yep.
You know, it's one of these, like, I don't understand situations. So man, that's huge. When I hear stuff like this, I love hearing it. I love, when guys are doing it. You should be talking about that every single day.
We have a YouTube channel we started maybe like a year and a half ago, and we haven't been doing a lot lately, but it's called Redemption Blueprint. And every week we would feature somebody else that got out and had transformed their life. So it's still up, but there's a lot of good videos on there.
Yeah. Well, so my buddy Jeff is now also, because of that, he's now a lawyer that defends. He went and got his law degree and defends people who are in the same situation. That's amazing. So, I mean, going back, we're going to roll back because that's an awesome story, dude. That gave me chills. I love that. That gave me chills. And again, folks, if you want to know more about what Bob's got going on, you can find him. All of his social media is the same. It's at the number 9 figure roofer. If you look it up on any of your social media, Instagram, TikTok, it's all the same thing. It's at the number 9 figure roofer. See what he's got going on. If anybody's out there watching, you got questions, please let us know. So going back to this, so we spend a year. We're a homeless beach bum. we're a homeless beach bum for a year. Showering at, like, if you're going to shower, at least you're at good beaches to do it. I mean, let's be realistic about it.
Yeah.
What was the switch, man? Where did you flip the switch and go, yeah, I can't keep doing this?
I was just bottoming out mentally, emotionally, right? Like I had nothing going on in life. I was a pretty broken human being at the time.
What do you think? Go back for a second. Like, you can't just be a broken human being. Like, we don't end up in a bus. Like, what happened? Are you comfortable talking about that?
Yeah. Dude, I don't really have a whole lot of secrets in life. I mean, I had great parents growing up, right? And then when I was like 8, my dad split. He was gone for a couple weeks, came home. He says, hey, I'm home for good. We messed up. We're going to fix this. Left again the next day, gone for a month, came home. I'm definitely home for good this time. Left again and did that for 7 years, coming and going for 7 years. It's funny, like, I got divorced in 2020, and now when I meet somebody, I'm kind of dating right now, and that's my first question, like, yo, what's your trauma? Because everybody's got some, right?
Absolutely.
I feel like, when my dad left, it was like losing my dad, my God, and my best friend all in one. At the same time, I had, like, my brother and sister are like 7 years older than me. And, they were starting to talk about smoking bowls and smoking weed, or, and there was like a couple kids in the neighborhood that I hear them talk about that. And I remember being like 10 years old and getting a book out of the library on drugs, and it had like people sniffing glue. And I was like, I'm going to sniff model glue. Right. And like at an early age, I started doing whatever I kind of could to get out of myself. I think, from the first time I smoked weed, I was probably 12 or 13. And I was smoking weed every day after the first time. Right. Wow. I kind of have that personality, which is good in business. Right. When you have a goal and, like, you're on fire for something, like, I'm sprinting and I'm not stopping till I get there. But yeah, that was kind of, that's just kind of like, it kind of shook the foundation. Right. I would hear my mom crying in her room, whatever. I felt like this perfect kind of family that we had just came unglued. And like I said, I started early. My first I ran away from home at like 15. And I got picked up by the police. I only was like 60 miles away. I was sleeping in a shed. It was November, so it was cold in Pennsylvania. I went from Harrisburg to Reading, which is where I was from originally, and we were living in Harrisburg at the time. Police picked me up, and I was doing anything to get high, and ended up in a rehab. And then got sober for a little bit. I'm like, I'm too young to be alcoholic. I'm not going to say I'm a fucking alcoholic. I'm 15 years old, right? And then kind of like in and out of AA meetings and all that. And then just got, I got to that point where had periods of sobriety, and I would talk myself into, hey, I think I can go do this like a normal person, right? And lo and behold, I happen to have this phenomenon of craving that develops once I have a drink, that I have really probably little control over the amount that I take, right? And I don't know what's going to happen. I could wake up in some place, I don't even know where I'm at, right? So that I kind of have that thing. If there's a gene, I got it. So I got sober in May 31st of 1997. I was 24 years old, not quite 25, and I haven't had a drink or a drug since. I threw myself into Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't go like I used to, but I definitely hit a few meetings a month, and still got a sponsor, still help guys when they ask. And, I feel like it's my job to give back because it's given me a beautiful life.
Dude, that's an incredible story. That's a movie. You know what I mean? That's finding your way through that to where you are today. So then what was the first step? I mean, listen, I've done one roof in my entire life, and I'll live under a blanket before I ever do it again. Like I was,
Sure.
I burned the whole back of my head. I was in the Marine Corps. We had a master sergeant who owned a roofing company. He's like, come help with a roof. He would pay the guys like $100 a day, which for us, that was like, yeah, $100. And I got done and I had sun poisoning. I burned the entire back of my head because all of us have short hair. So I'm like, this is horrible. So but for you, like, where was the first step? Were you already doing roofing? Like, where was that first step?
No, it's a little bit backwards. I'm not the laborer, right? We have some amazing crews that put the roofs on every day. Like this January, we were putting on 80 roofs a week in Arizona. That's a lot of roofs.
That's a lot.
Just Arizona, and we're in 20 states. I was a door-to-door guy, right? So, I mean, my history wasn't, I had a little painting company when I was like 20 years old, right? Like I did a little bit of construction here and there. When I needed money, or like guys would hire me on when I would be off dead tour and be in like a town, where my hometown was, or where I went to high school. If I knew people that had construction jobs, I would go try and make some money like that. But, I've always been a sales guy. I mean, I followed the Grateful Dead around for years, and we sold t-shirts. And then we sold t-shirts, this was like 1995.
I love it.
And No Fear was probably like the most popular shirt in 1995. So we had a shirt that said "No Beer," written like "No Fear," and on the back it said "We drank it all." Panama City Beach, spring break, 1995. Right. So we could sell 100 of those in a day, 120 in a day. I made like $7 a shirt off every one I sold. So we made money like that. And then, I was just, I learned how to sell door to door, and I really have, I mean, every dollar I've made in my entire adult life has pretty much come from either door to door or training guys on the doors or teaching guys how to do that. And it's been a lot of money.
I love hearing that stuff. My youngest is 8. My oldest is 32. And the 8-year-old's always asking about money. And I always tell him, I said, but the best paying job on the entire planet is sales. And he's like, huh? But there's YouTube and there's that. I'm like, listen to me. It's sales. Everything in the world revolves around sales. There's nothing bigger. There's nothing that makes more money. It's all sales. And if you can do it, you'll never starve a day in your life. You can
100%.
So I try to get him in this mindset like this. And my dad, I'll tell you just I've talked about it here. My dad, Bob, was the greatest salesman I've ever known in my life. By far, bar none. He used to work in a Sears Brand Central, what they called a C store, which is the small Sears, and do over $1 million in product a year selling appliances.
It's awesome.
And he retired from Sears. Like they would send him on trips around to St. Thomas and then the Bahamas, like that, because he sold so much. They're like, here, man, you're good. Yeah. So then, and I'm going to give you a piece of advice from my wife. She's not here, but she would give you the same advice. If you want to know what their trauma is, you can judge it by how thin the eyebrows are. The thinner the eyebrows, the crazier the woman. That is a fact. Right now, you're going through your head and you're thinking about every woman you've ever been with that you no longer mess with. And you're like, they plucked their eyebrows. Their eyebrows were super thin, aren't you?
I was thinking about the last 3 women that I dated.
And they all had thin eyebrows, didn't they?
Yes. You're correct.
That's my wife's theory. She's like, listen, any woman who spends that much time to get their eyebrows that perfect has to be a crazy person.
I've never heard that in my entire life, Sean, but I'm going to pay attention to that moving forward.
Yep. You'll be like, son, this guy on this show his wife said this and now I know it. So when did you make the leap from, the door-to-door side to it, though, to owning your own thing? When did that happen?
I've always been an entrepreneur. I started an energy drink company with some friends
Oh,
that
wow.
went under, but that had like a little bit of runway for a while, called Saco in Arizona. I owned like 10%, a bunch of my friends did, and then we had like an investor, and one of my good friends was kind of like the president. And I went from that to trying to do a .com. We had a product called Cartfly where we were like the first people to give them the ability to sell stuff through their MySpace page, and we had good traction on that. We didn't have any revenue built in. We were giving it away for free, but we had tons of users. And then the market crashed in like 08, 09, and all of a sudden the model of having a lot of eyes kind of went away, meaning like MySpace sold for 534 million. They weren't making money. YouTube was losing $1 million a month in bandwidth or in whatever when they sold. And so that kind of went away and people started monetizing. We didn't have anything for that. And so that went under. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go knock on some doors again. Meanwhile, I had a friend in Colorado, Scott Riopel, who owned a company in Colorado called Interstate Roofing. And he opened up in Kansas in 2011. We worked this big hailstorm there. And so I went and spent 4 months in Kansas in 2011, and I did well. And I'm like, I just learned, I can make an easy 6 figures a year doing this. And I can teach all my friends in Arizona that might have a little bit of a checkered past, that might not be able to get the great job, how to do this as well, right? Because you just need to be a good talker. So when I left there, I had asked Scott, I said, hey, do you want to start a company in Phoenix and be partners? And he said, no, you can't make money in Phoenix. I said, okay. And meanwhile, a friend of mine from Texas, one of my best friends, came to visit, and we were talking. And he's a guy that got sober on my couch years earlier. And he came to visit, and we're shooting the shit. And I was telling him about the roofing. He's like, why don't you start your own company? I said, I did good, but I didn't like save enough money or make, you know what I mean? I don't have enough money to do it. And he's like, I got you. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, let's do it. And I said, dude, we probably need 50, 100 grand. He's like, I got you. And this was a guy that, like I said, 5 years earlier, sobered up on my couch. He believed in me when nobody else did, right? Because I had some failed, you know what I mean? I'm an entrepreneur. We take swings and we misses, and we miss, right? And sometimes you hit. We happen to connect on the roofing. He had more of a business mind. I'm a talker. I'm a sales guy. I like being on the doors. I like training guys. I can sell them the dream on, what roofing can do for their life. And we ended up partnering up and just grew and grew and grew. And then we probably became, I was a little cocky, probably more so than I am now even, right? Like I went to all the distributors and all the manufacturers and I said, my name's Bob Schober. We're going to be the biggest roofing company in Arizona. And you should give me good pricing right now because you're gonna be asking for it later. And a couple guys did, and a couple guys laughed at me. And probably within 6-7 years, we were by far the biggest residential. Nobody's doing as much re-roofs as we have, right? There's guys doing more like new construction and more apartments, but as far as residential re-roof, nobody was doing more than us. And we got to a point in 2021, we did like, it was interesting because COVID hit, and I'm like, everything could fall apart. I mean, I'm getting divorced. I'm raising 4 kids half the time on my own. Now COVID hit. Are we going to lose work? And they deemed us like a necessary business, or whatever. Construction is a, with that essential business. And it just took off, right? And we had already been growing. We went from 11 million to 19 million to 32 million. In 2021, we did 51 million, and we sold in 2022.
Wow.
And that was, I said this the other day, but the best thing, in my opinion, about like having an exit like that is being able to do it with 2 of your best friends. We added on a third partner who didn't jump in when we first started, but he came on board and, earned his ownership over a 5-year period. And we all got to exit together. And, it's an amazing thing. You got like, a couple guys that if you looked at our lives 10 years, 20 years earlier, you'd be like, there's no way this dude is going to be successful. But yeah, we did it. And I think like for me, business wise, I know what I'm good at, and I try and stay in my lane. Sometimes I get out of my lane, but I try to stay in my lane. And all 3 of us each kind of had our own thing, right? Like Matt ran the books, and Matt was kind of the businessman, and I was like, the sales guy, and Colin was the systems, right? And so between the three of us, we had a pretty complete company, and we just grew and grew.
Wow. Again, folks, if you want to know what Bob's got going on, it's at the number 9 Figure Roofer. Brother, that's an incredible story. Like you, and as I'm hearing you, I'm thinking about the things you've already said to us about, you know, it all, the bottom was out of it. You were done. But it's interesting that and this is kind of your vision as an entrepreneur. It isn't about, you know, let me have the flashy car and let me have this and let me show you all these things that I can do. It's about the impact you can make on other people's lives. What, you know, it's that hand down to bring somebody up each time. That's what it sounds like when I'm hearing from you. Am I on the right page with you?
Yeah, and you got to be surrounded. You know, you hear often like you are who you surround yourself with.
Amen. Yes.
And I'm a huge proponent in that, right? Like I would not, me without the guys would not have gotten nearly as far as I did with the guys, right? Like all of us complemented each other really well in what we did. And I think that's necessary. If you have two guys that are great at the same thing, one of them is unnecessary, right? I'm not saying you can't go do something with your buddy and have a lot of success, because you can.
Right.
But that being said, you know, being able to have, you know, that type of support, and, you know, and that type of trust, right? I probably went years without saying, hey, what's in the bank account? I mean, maybe like quarterly we took, you know, dividends, but I never had to look, right? Because that was the trust that I had with these guys. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm super grateful.
I mean, that's just huge because of the fact that you found that in the guy from your buddy from Texas to be able to do something like that. So what are some of your goals? I mean, and the PE thing, listen, man, that to me, to hear you say that, because I've heard the stories. Like, I know somebody very close to me that runs a PE and they're focused in the medical world and they're doing very well. But then I heard a news article recently where PE's coming in and buying companies like yours, never change the name of it, pay for the likeness of the ownership, and they'll buy all of them out of a community. And I go to you to get a roofing job and you say it's going to be 10 grand. And then the next roofer comes in and he's owned by the same PE, but another name. And he said his system knows that I'm in there. And when he goes to price me, even though you price me at 10, it knows that I was in there and it prices me at 9,500.
Yeah.
That, like, I've heard stories
we
like
don't operate like that.
That's awesome. That's what I'm saying. Like you don't feel like that, but I'm
No.
hearing this. So you've got the other end of it, which is amazing to me. Did you guys were you able to vet the PE beforehand, or was it like, you know,
we had luxury problems. We had a couple that liked us, right? Like we hit the market and the first offer came in and it was a lot of money and we didn't take it. And me and Matt kind of had the same, we had a certain number in our head, right? Like, this is the number. We're going to get to this number. And the longer time went by, the more people that came to the table. And as we just continued to do well, that number went up, right? And so probably 5-6 months after we hit the market, we were at a number and we were about 7 million, 8 million away from the number we wanted to be at. And we had South Carolina as well. We had an office there, and we included that. And then we got to the number that we wanted to get. So,
wow, dude, listen, I love this stuff. This is one of my drugs, is hearing things like this and how people can get to those numbers and do those kind of things. So now, are you still selling and doing the roof and involved in that at all, or are you able to fully?
No, I mean, I've never really stopped doing that, but that wasn't my day to day. When you have, you know, when you have 100 sales guys, you're not out there. You're in the trenches, right? You're doing that kind of stuff. I mean, you're like, I'm really big on like goal setting and manifestation, right? Like, I was homeless in that Volkswagen. I had one book and it was Think and Grow Rich. And so I've been into like manifestation for, you know, forever. I believe you have to know exactly what you're going to get and that is coming no matter what. You know what I mean? I live by that stuff. Like the law of attraction is incredible. And if you're negative, then you're going to attract negative. And if you're positive, you attract positive, right? So it's not hard to cut the fat in your life if you just start thinking positively. It'll go by the wayside.
Isn't it amazing? Well, you know, it's so one of the books that helped me along the lines was Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki. Yep. And for me, I'll tell you what got me was the E versus O, employee versus owner.
Yeah.
What really made more of an impact is in the Marine Corps, we call them E's are enlisted, O's are officers. And they have a completely different mindset than we did. And that shift, reading his book did the same thing for me. I was like, oh, well, shit, I need to change my mindset. The 5 people you hang out with are the sum of who you are.
That stuff is really important. I spent quite a bit of time over the years, like even like a core group of the sales guys would come to my house every Thursday, and we would do like, we would either do some like Joe Dispenza stuff or something that had to do with manifestation.
I don't know who that is.
Joe Dispenza is a dude that was a chiropractor in California. He was in a triathlon. He got hit by a Jeep. They said, "You'll never walk again." And he's really big into like quantum physics and that kind of stuff. It's kind of new agey, but I love that stuff. And it's worked for me. And everybody I know that has some level of success thinks like that on a certain level. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned that for me, it's just much easier to stay positive. I'd rather be happy and stay positive than just a miserable bastard that no one wants to be around.
Mom, I'm beachfront living when I'm in a Volkswagen bus on food stamps, selling them for 50 cents on a dollar.
Like, I'm going to find a way to be happy with this. So now that you've got this, freedom, we'll call it, with the exit and with everything you got going on, what's the new goal?
5 months ago, I started 9-Figure Roofer, right? I started thinking about that. I spoke on a panel in Dallas. We spoke on a $1 billion roofing panel, and it was me and 3 other people that combined our revenue for the year was $1 billion. And I started thinking about that's when I started thinking about 9-Figure Roofer. I launched the channel in December 4th. This is a good story. So when I was living in the Volkswagen and selling food stamps for 50 cents and a dollar and doing whatever I could to kind of get by or talk my way into whatever kind of situation I was, when you get sober, you make a list of everybody you harmed and then you go clean it up, you make amends, right? In this scenario, I figured there's a ton of people that I'll never know who they are and I'll never be able to make an amends to, right? Even going back to when I was 15, growing up in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and we would run in people's open garages at 6 p.m. And if there was beer in there, we'd be on our skateboards, run in, grab the beer and skate away, right? And go to the woods. That happened every day, right? So there's all that kind of stuff that I can't go fix, right? So I figured that I got a buddy who's big on watches online. He goes by Vukum. His name is Tyler. He's super popular. And we were gambling in Vegas during F1, and he taught me how to play Baccarat, and I won 10 grand in like an hour. I'm like, I love this game. And I went back to AZ, and I'm like, I'm going to give this money away, and I'm going to do that to amend all the people, because I made all my other amends. I already cleaned up the past years ago, but there's this bulk thing. So I went home. I got a couple friends of mine to join me. I made a big cardboard sign, and it said, "Reverse spare change. Honk if you need help. Happy holidays." And I stood on the corner in Mesa, and people honked, and we gave away money. And in a 2-day period, I gave away that $10,000. And my friend Matt, who I wouldn't have been in business with without him and wouldn't have succeeded like I did without him, was coming to visit the next day. He's like, "Dude, I saw your videos." I threw some of the videos on TikTok and Instagram. So I saw the videos. They were awesome. I said, "Bro, grab 10 grand. I'll grab 10 more, and let's give away 20 grand while you're here." He's like, "I'm in." So he comes, he brings 10 grand. I grab 10 more. And we start doing some different stuff. So we go from reverse spare change to knocking on doors, because the company had a good year. I think people thought I was giving away company money, but I was giving away my own money. I can't give away PE money, right? And started knocking on doors. And this was cool. This is what changed me, right? This is where it really kicked in. So I knock on one door, and if you go back to the beginning of the videos, you'll see that. This lady comes. I'm walking up. There's these 3 kids outside. I'm like, "Hey, is your mom home?" They're like, "Yeah, you can knock." I knock. She comes to the door. I give her $500. I said, "Are these your kids?" And she said, "Just one, not the other 2." I gave each kid $100. And we're in kind of a, it's not the nicest area. So we wanted to be able to have a little bit of an impact there, right?
Right.
And so I give these 2 kids $100 each. I said, "Do you have any brothers or sisters?" The girl says, "I have a brother." I said, "Give this 100 to him. I don't want him to feel left out." They take off running down the street. We walk across the street, knock on the door. Woman doesn't answer. She thinks, I mean, we're there, but she knows we're there. But like, you know, hey, there are these guys walking around with a lot of money. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get robbed. I don't, whatever. It's God's money. It ain't mine, right? So this woman, these kids come walking up the street with a woman, and she goes, hey, these are my kids. She goes, did you give them money? And I said, yeah. And she said, did you mean to? And I said, yeah. And she said, we're being evicted. You have no idea how much this helps. It was $300. And I said, what? And she's crying. I knew it was real. I wasn't like, let me see the eviction. She's like, I could show you the pit. No, I said, how much is it to get out? She said, 1,800. We had like 2,300 left on us, me and Matt. Gave her all 2,300. I said, pay the eviction and you got $500 for food and Christmas, right? That was it. Made a video, put it online. Put the video online, and an hour later, I get a text from a friend of mine in South Carolina. And my buddy goes, I saw the video you just posted. That kid standing with his mom as she's getting evicted while she's crying was me when I was that age. Oh. He said, he says, I'm going to send you 50 grand on Monday. I want you to change their life. I said, get the fuck out of here. He said, no, I'm sending you $50,000. And he did. Monday morning, 50 grand. So when he tells me that, I go back to the door. I didn't know where that lady lived because she came walking up the street.
Right.
I go back to the door that I knocked on where the kids were because I knew where that was. And I said, hey, that woman, blah, blah, blah. Can you give her my number? She gave her the number. She called me, thanked me. And I said, listen, I want you to come to the office. I'll got you an Uber to come to my office. I have something for you on Monday. So the wire comes through. She comes up to the office. And now when we met her, she was like in pajamas and looked like she just woke up, disheveled, crying. And when she got to the office, she was all dressed up. I said, you look different. She said, my kids said I was on TikTok. I said, well, it's a good I said, it's a good thing that you were, because a friend of mine saw it and we're going to hook you up. I said, you paid the rent from the other day? She said, yeah. I said, who's your property management company? She tells me. I said, do you know the number? She says, yeah, we call on the spot, put it on speakerphone. Hey, sir, I'm going to help Carmen here pay the rent for the next year. How much is it? Bob, it's $1,550 a month. It's $18,600 for the year. I said, okay, we're going to get her a cashier's check, make it out to you. We want to cover the rent till January 1st of 2027. They were like, that's awesome. So I went to Chase, got her a cashier's check, bought him a car. She didn't have one, for like $8,500, like a 10-year-old Honda, and gave her 22 grand in a check, and changed her life. And that moment when my buddy called me and told me that, I was like, yo, I'm going to do this full time. Because look at the change, right? Like, you know, it's interesting too, because some people are like, oh, you do it for clout, you do it for views. Well, clout means to have influence over, and views, yeah, because you're spreading kindness. So if I can have some type of influence over people being kind, then I'm all about it, right? I spent enough years being a dirty guy living in a Volkswagen, right? It's the least I could do for the universe is to give back on some level. So that was like a turning point where I was like, I'm not like, at first I was thinking, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give away this 10 grand. Then we gave away the 20. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go till Christmas. But all of a sudden I start getting these DMs from all over the world. I mean, literally every country, like every country, that say, you have no idea what these videos do for me. I'm having the hardest time in my life, and you get me through the bad days. Like, so much stuff, so much powerful stuff. There were times I would read these DMs and cry. And you can't, like, for the record, I get thousands of DMs a week. I can't even read them all. It's just not even possible. Right. And there's different kinds of people. So some people are like, yo, give me $100 or give me this, give me that. And some people are like, please have this. Can I have that? Then you have people that are like, I love what you're doing and I want to help. And then you got people that are like inadvertently, you know, business. Like we had like hundreds of applicants from around the country that applied for jobs from seeing the videos because they love the company and the work that we're doing. You know what I mean? Which was an unintended, inadvertent consequence of being kind, right? I wasn't thinking like, hey, this is going to help like that. You know what I mean? I'm at a point now, and then some people think you make millions off the views, right? Dude, I've been doing this for 5 months. I have over 500 million views. I have 1 million followers if you across it on all platforms. I think I make like 9 or 10 grand a month off the videos. I give away $35,000 to $40,000 every month. So it's nowhere near, and I don't care if it gets there or not. I'm not going to stop doing it because the impact is too big. You know what I mean? And I'm sure someday it'll catch up to itself, but like, it's changed me. Like real philanthropy has changed me. I'm not the same person I was 5 months ago. I started thinking like the way you look at like the world changes. When you really start getting into I'll go anywhere. I'm not afraid to go anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm in Arizona. I'm covered with tattoos, and everybody in Arizona has a gun. You know what I mean? So you're not. It's not like you're in California where you're going to get cars. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Different.
It's not the same. So when I started seeing the impact that it was having on everyday people, I started having these experiences, and you watch some of the videos. Like there's a lot of tearjerkers in there. You know what I mean? And I started seeing the effect. I'm like, all of a sudden, like, what's important? Do you know what I mean? I would rather have impact than this or that, right? So in some subtle ways, I've been like, the importance of things has pretty much disappeared. Do you know what I mean? I still have nice shit, right? Like I have my dream cars and I have a beautiful house and whatever, but I don't really care about that stuff. Where my brain is at on a daily basis is how can I do more, right? I know that you can try and get sponsorships, and I've had some casinos reach out, and that doesn't really align with my vision. Like, I'm not going to be giving money away. The woman's crying, and I'm like, by the way, play blackjack on a casino.
MGA M Grand.
Yeah.
Right.
That being said, I will. I'm sure that stuff will come, and I think what's next for me is a home service company that is built around the brand where we give humongous chunks of profit. Every dollar that I could possibly spend on advertising, I will just put into giving money away. And I mean, we're gritty, right? Like for the roofs, I'll run them through my current company. I'm still an owner and I want that to obviously be successful. But for the other services, I think that's what's next. Home services in general. And then just creating impact. I'm good. I got everything I ever wanted. And now I just want to make big change.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't ever let anybody go past the 45-minute mark without me doing my ad, and you got me, brother. You got me right in the feels with that one. Wow. Let me do this here. Listen.
Do your thing.
And let AI knows what's up here. Good stories start here. You ever notice the best conversations usually start with a good pour? This episode is brought to you by New Scotland Spirits, small batch whiskey, handcrafted right here in upstate New York. Whether it's catching up with friends, celebrating a win, or solving the world's problems around a fire pit, New Scotland Spirits is the kind of whiskey that belongs in the middle of the table. Bold flavor, smooth finish, made with local grain, real craftsmanship from start to finish. Because good whiskey doesn't need to scream for attention. It just needs to be good. Find your bottle at newscotlandspirits.com. New Scotland Spirits, where good stories start here. Dude, that was perfect. Listen, AI nailed it for you. That's an incredible story. And listen, folks, again, you can go into at nine figure roofer, and that's the number 9. You'll see videos on there, Bob walking through stores, talking to people, helping them out right there. Cause I remember that's the one that's sticking in my head is you were like you were in a store or something like that and giving away money, or where's the video at? You probably know it better than I do, but
there's 400 of them and 90% are in stores.
Okay, then that was just me then.
Yeah.
But so as you're moving for this, and it's funny when you mentioned a service company doing that, almost like a non-for-profit service company that's really getting out there and doing something, and that's the industry to be in now, because AI will never put up AI is never going to put a roof on your house, folks. I say that, and then somebody else will figure out a way. They're already 3D. They're already 3D printing houses. Those are big out your way, I would imagine. They always look like they're out that way, towards the left coast for the 3D printed houses. And then I got to ask you, listen, I got to ask a quick random off the wall question.
Yeah.
You ever heard of Mr. Rooter out your way?
Yes.
Do you know the owner of Mr. Rooter?
No.
Okay. If you ever meet him, he's 6'6", monster of a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my cousin. He's
nice.
He's out in Tempe though.
Yeah. We're right. I'm in Gilbert, which borders Tempe.
I know nothing out there. I know Yuma.
Yeah, that's
WTI in Yuma. I know
that's on the Mexican border.
Listen, that's the only place. That was the first time I was ever anywhere where you're from PA. We have deer crossing signs. You might have like a horse crossing.
Yeah.
They have signs. Be careful, people running across the border. Yeah. Like families escaping. And folks, it is the worst, most horrible sign you've ever seen, because the child is actually like flying in the air as they're running. So it's not even like realistic. Like they're dragging.
I was in San Diego one time and there was probably 40 people running across the highway and traffic was just stopped. I mean, it's a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen that one. So if somebody's out there and listen, folks, I love what Bob's doing here, but keep in mind, as Bob said, listen, if you look like Alfred E. Newman, please don't go into the wrong neighborhoods with a wad of cash and decide that you're just going to go pass it around. Bring a Bob with you. I just want to, for your own safety purposes, as Bob said, he's in Arizona where they pass out guns and everywhere. They have amazing gun laws in Arizona. You can go shoot machine guns in the desert. It's the coolest thing in the world out there. So please just be careful what you're doing.
It's still the Wild West for sure.
Yeah, it's a unique place. But if somebody wanted to do something similar to what you're doing, if they're like, you know what, I want to get involved in something like this, but they're not in your position. They're not a 9-figure roofer. They don't have all those kind of things. What are some of the other things that you might suggest or directions you point them in to say, hey, you can do this though?
9-figure roofer was not like, I didn't get to 9-figure roofer on my own. I'm a link in the chain, and I'm an important link and a good link, and so was all the other guys that we built together with. You know what I mean? So I feel like I can't stress enough. Like, surround yourself with people that are strong in the areas you are weak. And I think it was Henry Ford that had an 8th grade education,
Yep.
right? And he knew one thing. He knew how to inspire people to step up and create something that he thought of or whatever, and they built the vehicles, right? You don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. You just need to be able to, everything is relationships. Life is relationships. You know what I mean? So make great relationships. Growing businesses, relationships, right? Like I did some apartment complexes in 2015 for a woman in Tucson who was in charge of a bunch, and we're still do complexes for her today, right? Because we built a good relationship. So I think if you're starting, it's who you're with, and if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the richest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's a true statement, right? So find people who are going to elevate your game, and stay by those people.
You know what? I've heard the if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. But I've never heard the richest guy, and I like that even better. Like you're just in the wrong room. How about like for you getting to the point? It sounds like you had the right group of people, everybody pushing. Is there any like organizations or anything along those lines that you've seen that you're like, hey, maybe this would be the right one, or you should look into this, like, or actually, you know what? Let me pause that question. What do you got for the guy who's out there who he's the new Bob? He's in the van. He's at Venice Beach though. He at least goes, he doesn't just shower there. He goes to the gym there. He's at Venice. He's at Muscle Beach. It's the only beach I know out there. But what do you got for that guy to say, hey, this is how you pull yourself up?
The one thing I didn't lose when I was losing my mind was hope, right? I had a couple brief stints of sobriety that was good sobriety, even though I didn't stay sober, to know that getting sober would be a better choice for me than how I was living, right? Like, if you're in that position, I mean, you got to get humble, right? I find that like in all the times in my life when I couldn't humble myself, God did it for me, right? And I promise you, it would have been way easier if I could have done it myself, but I couldn't have done it myself, right? So I've been smacked around a little bit, you know what I mean? And humbled. And I think that like, I mean, dude, being honest with yourself, I was not always great at that. You know what I mean? I had to learn how to be honest with myself and learn to be like, hey, I suck at this, or I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at that, right? I got married and I got divorced. And my wife at the time, and now mind you, I'm in entrepreneur mood. You know what I mean? Like to me, like creating financial success means you're pushing the family forward. Wasn't probably the right thing. Keep your priorities in order. march towards the goal and sprint and do it with people that you love and care about. And again, I mean, that's what I would say. And everybody's got to start somewhere, right? If you're at the bottom, the only way is up. And don't lose hope. I think that's the most important thing. And don't quit before the miracle happens, right? Like, that's a big deal.
There's a story. It's funny you say don't quit, and I always forget the guy's name, but there's a story. The guy ended up like as like head of the Treasury Department or something like that at one point in time, but he owned a gold mine, and he dug the gold mine in California, and he dug and he dug and he dug and he dug, and never hit anything, and was like, "There's nothing here. I'm going to go back east and I'm going to start my life." He sold his gold mine. And like a week later, the people he sold the gold mine to hit one of the largest veins in California history.
Yep.
And he always used to tell the story of, if I'd have just stuck it out for one more week, where could I have been then?
I just heard something on Instagram 2 days ago, and I'm probably going to screw it up.
Yeah,
but the guy says like a Bulgarian thoroughbred horse on its own can pull 10,000 pounds. 2 Bulgarian thoroughbred horses can pull 34,000 pounds.
So
the teamwork is, you'll be way stronger when you
2.5 times. Yeah.
Yeah. Not twice. Right.
Yep.
One in a good relationship, in a good partnership, I think 1 + 1 = 3. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So.
Nope, I get it. Now look, folks, again, one more time. If you want to know what Bob's going on, get involved, see what he has happening. Again, it's the number 9 Figure Roofer. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on TikTok.
And we are hiring. If you go to roofcareer.com, just www.roofcareer.com. We're in 20 states. We're hiring in 20 states. And we train, if you do what we tell you to do, you'll be successful.
Is it mostly, is it when you say your guys are hiring, is it like guys up on the roof? Is it sales guys like you?
It's sales guys.
Sales guys. Yep. So I probably should have asked that because I was curious. I wanted to ask it. So did you guys sell for other roofing companies, or you actually had the roofers? Does that make sense?
No, we sub out the work.
Okay, so you sold the work, and then you had subcontractors that came
sales
in
and marketing.
Love it. God.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the great.
I didn't want the inventory. We didn't want the inventory. We didn't want the equipment. We didn't want the headache. And look, our subs make an incredible amount of money, right? The subs do really, really well. You got guys putting on 80 roofs a week. I promise. A lot of people are like, oh, the guys up there working. Look, they make us look good, and they're paid well for it.
Brother, listen. That gets the second one because that's even smarter. That is the work smarter, not harder mindset. I don't know why my lasers aren't working right now. There we go. That is the true work smarter, not harder mindset. Go out, measure it, sell it, and then let somebody else go do the work. That is genius. Well, look, folks, as I always like to say here, if you found us through Bob or Bob through us, make sure you give it all a like, share, follow. As I mentioned, next week we're going to be taking 2 weeks off. It's the first time in 6 years I've ever taken 2 weeks off. So we're gonna do it, but I'm gonna suffer. If you guys need to find me, I'll be in Barbados. You're welcome to reach out and find me there. I've never been there, so hopefully I don't have to call Bob to come and rescue me in Barbados.
I'll be in Costa Rica. So
everybody keeps telling me like that's the spot to go now. Is like so many Americans are like moving to Costa Rica. Like it's like the spot. And from they say from Cali, it's easy to get there. Like it's
I'm still the beach bum, just not homeless, right? Like
now the place on the beach is way nicer.
Yeah.
You don't have to walk down the street to a hose to shower off. Well, look, folks, when we do come back on June 3rd, it's going to be with a gentleman by the name of Kevin Baker. He has found a way to the merging of acquisition of physician practices. So he's got a PE. He actually picks up physician practices. So we're going to be talking about that. We've had his dad on, Alan Baker, before, who's very involved in like the BNI networks around the capital region in New York. You got any roofing jobs up here in New York? You doing it out here?
No, we're not. We're not in New York. We're huge in the Midwest, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, Illinois, Iowa, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, soon to be Tennessee, soon to be
Nice.
Nevada.
Tennessee's everything, man. Tennessee's just blowing up as a state. But don't log off on me afterwards, Bob. We got to talk for just a moment after the show.
No problem.
At the end of every episode, the guest always gets the final word. So what's our final word for tonight?
Count the blessings.
Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.